Please give a warm and friendly welcome to a guy who admits he doesn't deserve it, the pit bull of comedy, Mr. Bobby Slayton.
Oh my God, what a night. Liberace has played this room, Elvis Presley played this room, and Alan Thicke has played this room. You know, it's funny, a couple of the other guys are talking about going back to New York, you know, Wayne and Mark, and visiting their family. 3 weeks ago, my parents came out to see me in LA. I just had a daughter 2 months ago, and they came out, it was an accident. The kid was an accident. I mean, I love her, but you should not applaud an accident. I mean, if 2 cars crashed, hey, that's great. Is anybody dead? No, I'm not, wait, don't groan. I love my daughter, but I'm just trying to tell you kids at home. You know, at the time, my wife was using a diaphragm, and it just didn't work. You know, knowing these little sperm, they just talk their way right past checkpoint, Charlie. But anyway, so 2 weeks ago, my folks come out to LA to visit me and my wife, and they've never seen my house before. And as much as I love my folks, I try to get back at them for all the crap they pulled on me when I was a kid. The first night they were out, my wife is making dinner. And as we're sitting down at the kitchen table, I said, Dad, you know, before we eat, you're gonna have to do an impression of a chicken. And when he said, an impression of a chicken, why? Why? Because it's my house, I said so, that's why. This is my roof, these are my rules, because I don't have to give you a reason. If you don't like it, you go eat somewhere else. And don't go in the living room, that's for company. And then we drove around LA for like an hour until my mother had to go to the bathroom so badly, and I said, yeah, well, why didn't you go before we left the house? If you knew you had to go. You know, it's funny, 2 months ago we had this kid, and my wife is still trying to get back into shape, because like most pregnant women, she ate a lot. She used that women's excuse. Well, you know, I'm eating for 2. Yeah, I know, honey, but the other one's not Orson Welles. It's a tadpole this big. You have 1 olive, you fill him up for a week. I love my wife very much, but sometimes, you know, that's why comics talk about men and women, because sometimes I just don't know if we're even meant for each other. You know, it's like farmers and sheep. I mean, they mate, but does that mean they're compatible? I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. I mean, you know, think about it. I mean, men and women, we're the same species, but we're like 2 different appliances. You know, it's like household appliances. Here's a great example, especially when it comes to sex. You know, men are like microwaves. 8 seconds, we're done. Yeah, women, you laugh. You're like a fucking crock pot. 8 days, 7 nights. Simmering in your own juices. Honey, I have no more feeling in my jaw. Can we continue this tomorrow? What do you say? And that's why a lot of comics talk about sex. You know, they say that men reach their sexual peak at 17, and women reach it in their 30s. Now, I don't think that's fair. I'm in my 30s, and I still love sex, but first, I want to see what's on cable. You know, I can get laid anytime. If I'm paying $10 a month for Showtime, I want to see Predator. And it's so true. People put too much of an importance on sex. You know, I love my wife, and I love sex, and I'll tell you something right now, and a lot of you guys aren't going to understand this, but I think a lot of times, a great meal is better than great sex. And let me explain this to you. No, okay, you guys are never getting laid. Let me explain it to you, boys, all right? Let me explain. This isn't the Donahue show, all right? We don't need any feedback. All right, look at it. Okay, let me explain. Let's say the average person, the average guy, eats 3 meals a day. All right, now let's just say, for argument's sake, you have sex 3 times a week. Now, let's put the shoe on the other foot. Let's say things were reversed. Let's say you had sex 3 times a day, and you only ate 3 times a week. Now, I think at the end of that week, a really good dinner is gonna look a lot more appealing than a really good blowjob. I mean, come on, now think about it. Think about it for 1 second, fellas. Now, you're horny. Okay, you're horny, guys. There's no women around. You can go in the bathroom, take an issue of Playboy, go, you come out 2 seconds later, you're satisfied. All right? But if you're hungry, there's no food around, you can't take off your clothes, go into a room, hey, I'm stuffed. And like I said, I love my wife very much. She's sitting here tonight, and I shouldn't really talk about it. But you know, after you've been married for like a year, things are coming up in my life that I've never expected before. It's like the other night, my wife says to me, honey, why don't we try something new in the bedroom? What do you mean new? What do you want? What? You want me to like parasail off the dresser into the bed? What do you want to do new? I just got a new TV. You do me, I do you. We turn on the tube. That's it. Game's over. She says to me, no, I want to discuss your sexual fantasies. I said, why? You're not in any of them. It's funny, here we are, the High Sierra, lovely Lake Tahoe. I know a lot of you guys and gals work up here. You know, after the show tonight, I'm gonna try for the first time in my life to learn craps. You know, I'm a blackjack player, and let me tell you something, I've been here for 2 days. And for the last 2 days, there's been some woman sitting in a slot machine. You know, if you ever go to Vegas or Reno or Tahoe or Atlantic City, it doesn't matter. But you ever like wake up in the morning and there's some woman that's been sitting there for days on that lucky slot machine. And she's been just working that arm out, and she has an arm like Rambo from working it out for like a week. You know, the other one's like withered away like an old tomato plant because she hasn't used it in a year. And she's just sitting there doing this. You know, you're doing this, you might as well just stay home and do this. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Actually, you know what the difference is? This pays off. Hey, you guys have been great. Thanks a lot. I'll see you later. Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.